Hi, and welcome to Opinions on the Fly with me, Tyler. Now, typically, I give you my opinion while I'm tying a fly, and ironically today, I'm not tying a fly, but I am getting prepared to fly. And that is, I'm sitting here in Vancouver waiting for my flight to fly back to my work site. But I wanted to put one more of these opinions on the fly together before I departed Canada. And I think it came because of the last couple days with the trucker convoys and all the social media, all the mainstream media, our politicians, everybody, and the daggers that were being thrown. So today I think I'd like to focus on just controlling the narrative that you can control. And I think that is something that maybe we have all forgotten as a general public, certainly in our politics and certainly in our social media feeds. I kind of relate it back to my military background, and when you're about to engage, whether it's a paper target or a real target in the theater of war, as soon as you pull that trigger, we say, that's a shot fired. And once you've pulled that trigger, you can't pull it back. You can't bring it back. So you want to make sure that you put all your training, all your effort, all your focus into making that one shot and making it count. And I was always brought up that you never point a firearm or a weapon at someone unless you intend to use it. You never point a gun at something unless you intend to actually shoot that thing. So, growing up, I was in and around firearms, and my parents and my grandparents, they taught me, the dangers of the end of the barrel that the bullet comes out of, and to never point that in disarray, and never jokingly point that at another human being, and never point it at something unless you actually intend to make that shot count. And I've carried that on into my military career for many years, and went overseas as well. And I've seen all aspects of what a well-placed shot is. And I've seen what unaimed and spray and pray type fire is, and how it's very inaccurate but can still cause a lot of damage. And where I'm going with this analogy is sometimes we can use our words as bullets, as ammunition. Our finger pointing become the guns. And I think sometimes we might look at that and go, it's not as dangerous as a real weapon. It's not as if I'm holding a pistol and pointing it at somebody as I spit words and hostilities and opinions at those people. And I think it's a good time to step back for a minute and say, you know what? Just because they're words, sometimes they can cut deeper than a knife, right? That saying. And you look at social media, you look at the media, and everybody is focused on negative items. It's almost like we don't actually know what the narrative is anymore. We're just throwing hostilities back and forth and pointing fingers and calling each other names and pointing out how bad of a job he or she's doing at that or this or whatever it is. And I think it's time that maybe we actually focus on the narrative that we can control. And by that I mean what comes out of every one of our mouths, and our social media platforms, and the memes. It's very easy today to go onto our social media, Facebook for example, and they're just gonna pump whatever you're focused on, whatever your bias is. Your Facebook feed's going to relate to that. So it's just gonna feed your animosity and your fire that much more. And you're not gonna get a clear picture of the entire playing field. You're not gonna get to see it from the other side. Same as Google. If you Google something, you can find anything that you want. So if you're looking for the negativity in something, you're gonna find it. If you're gonna look for the love or the feel-good story in something, you can find it. It's just in the attitude in which you approach it. And it's the same thing for sharing your thoughts and your opinions, is that you can control the narrative. You can control what's coming out of you personally. I can't control the next person. I can't control my friends groups. I can't control my family. And I sure as hell can't control somebody that I don't even know. But I can control what I respond back to those people, or how I respond back to those people. And you know, social media is real good for giving you those memes and those pictures, and you can find support from all sorts of people you've never even met before. But at the same time, it removes that human emotional connection. And sometimes what you're trying to say might not even be in an offensive term. But when I read it, because I'm having a bad day, or I'm busy, or you know, I just received bad news, or whatever it is, I can take that text or that photo and feel the animosity, because I'm already feeling that way. You know, you can always find trouble. I always say that. No matter where I go, I can always find trouble if I look for it. And it's so true with our narrative and how we approach people and how we speak. You know, it seems like nowadays we're just more and more communicating in hostilities and seeking our little wolf packs to build and become stronger. And I'm more right than you. I'm more right than you. And I think we need to move away from that. It kind of gets tiresome. It gets hard, and it doesn't actually benefit anybody. And I think that the idea behind social media is that it benefits people. And I was scrolling through my media feeds, you know, and I saw this mom and dad with a baby, and the mom was putting the water bottle to her head, and they were all holding hands, and then the dad started spitting water out, and the little boy was just loving it. He's just giggling hysterically. It's so simple, but it's so true that if you can control the narrative and you focus on good things, regardless of your political stance and what's happening in the world, it still doesn't mean we can't be nice and consensual with each other. We don't have to have the hostilities. In saying that, I still think it's important to have your views and your opinions. And politically, what the Liberals and also what the rest of our government are doing, I don't believe is correct. I think that there's definitely a lot of truths in the mandates that I guess the trucker convoy is fighting for. And I think that if anybody stopped and took a look from both sides of the fence, they could see that there are definitely some ideas there that are worth, you know, pursuing and questioning and asking our government and our people in charge, why are certain things mandated? Justin Trudeau, to me, is a little bit like the Wile E. Coyote from the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. You know, this coyote that is always failing. He's always trying to get that road runner. And, you know, the coyote does such a good job of showing you how hard he's working and all the thought process and how, you know, how much time and effort and, oh, poor me, the coyote. But when you really stop and think about it, he's actually distracted you from the fact that he's trying to kill the roadrunner. And I was thinking about that analogy and that cartoon with Justin Trudeau and how he has a convoy of protesters showing up on his doorstep, and his job as a prime minister is to hear those and then, you know, communicate back to the Canadian populace. And he's just used anger, he's just used hatred, he's used derogatory terms for these people. And it's not fair. It's not fair for anybody to be called those things, especially when one person has such a larger voice in the media platforms. But I also have to question, he pushing the mandate for these vaccinations. And when you think about that, he just got boosted, like not even a week ago. And now he's come down with COVID. His two kids have now tested positive for COVID, and I hope all 3 of them recover. I truly do, because I don't wish poor things upon anybody. But his entire family is vaccinated and has been vaccinated from the get-go. And they are all testing positive. So why are we pushing something so trivial when in the grand scheme of things, it actually doesn't make a difference? It doesn't matter if you're vaccinated, I'm unvaccinated. What the problem is that it overflows into a bigger thing where it's creating this me versus you, them versus us, the vaccinated against the unvaccinated. And it just creates this animosity, and it just keeps coming and coming in waves and waves. And I think overall, we can be better. And that's just my opinion. You can take it or leave it, but I truly think that we need to control the narrative that we can control. And that's simply the only thing that comes out of your mouth. It's good to have your opinion. It's good to have your political stance and agenda. But I think that we can all focus on how we actually project that towards other people, how it's communicated, and not looking for reassurance in our bias groups by tearing down others to build ourselves up. If anything, it should be the opposite. And, I've probably offended people, and I've had many people offend me as well. But moving forward, I'm going to try to better communicate how exactly it is that I express my opinions, my values, and not, hide behind a keyboard or get the mob mentality. And, that's my opinion today. Is before I fly off to do my business, is I just wanted to leave you with that kind of thought and that opinion that, control the narrative, control what comes out of your mouth, how you're saying it, and who you're saying it to. Because even if you don't mean to be ignorant, you don't mean to be rude or offensive, it might be coming across that way. So take, the 30 seconds, think about the words that you're going to use, why you're going to say what you're going to say. And if you can still feel relatively certain that you're not going to regret those words in 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years down the road, then I encourage you to pass that information on. But if at any moment, something that you might say or do, an action that you portray, that you do have control over, is going to be upsetting or confrontational, maybe try to restructure it or think of a different way that you can pass that information on without offensive and without aggression, and just controlling that narrative. So hopefully you guys see that, what I'm trying to accomplish here. Anyways, that's been another Opinions on the Fly with me, and I look forward to the next time. Cheers.